Good evening, and good evening again. Thank you for joining me for another live reading of my ongoing climate fantasy series, Helkey. For tonight, I am going to read episode 27, Into the North Sea's Jagged Teeth. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it tonight. I'll provide you with some information afterwards, but for now, welcome to episode 27 of my story. The Zodiac's Motor Wars. A gust flings spray off the bronze, splashing Beatrice's face. Smoke stench from the fires fades as they speed toward flooded marshlands. Swells grow. The Zodiac bobs and rolls. She huddles close to her companions, Mori, Sadie, dour Ivan, a surprisingly chipper Finn, in the bobbing boat. Above and ahead are towering masses of cloud. Fingers of lightning flicker at their dark bases. She can't yet make out the North Sea. It's blocked by low islands covered in grasses and scrubby trees. The marsh churns in chop and foam. A wave bumps her face into her hand as the boat skips into the marsh. The soft scent of horse upon her skin, a momentary comfort. Ivan thought her calming the gentle creatures was curse magic, only the craft of long years spent observing, learning their subtle gestures, how to cant her body and voice to project compassion, to earn their trust. It came easy, for she loved them in all their beauty and innocence. She had decades and decades more experience at it than any human. A practice in empathy. No curses required. The Zodiac plows into the marsh, lifting and dipping through swells and chop. It handles rough water surprisingly well, lifted up on a wave formed by its own forward motion. Nonetheless, spray splashes in. Soon they're all wet. Mori has a mad grin on his face. It makes her laugh. She's pretty sure he's trying to bleed off tension. Finn points to an outlet emerging before them. The water broadens. It roils with chop and rising waves, a tumultuous confluence opening to an angry North Sea. Out there, massive rollers drop tails of white spray as they tumble before the storm, jagged gray and white teeth pointing toward an angry cloud deck above. There she is, he shouts into the rising gale. Our good sun shepherd. Beatrice follows the line of his finger. Tossed about in the confluence is a vessel about 100 feet long and covered from stem to stern in glistening solar panels. Mori motions to her. Excitement flicks across his wet face. He's such a geek for these things. Badass. It's one of those new electric boats. Skateboard battery laid through the keel, super efficient motors covered in solar panels. It's got a practically unlimited range. She grins back at him. His excitement is infectious. Wonderful. Can it handle the storm? Beatrice asks as the Zodiac flies over a large swell, catches air for a moment, then slams down into a trough. Spray flies everywhere. They're all double drenched now. The little craft is powering out through the choppy confluence. Her teeth clack together as they slam into another swell. Her hands, white-knuckled, cling to a rope looped along the gunnel. Beatrice feels like she's riding a child's toy boat getting tossed around in a bathtub by a capricious toddler. Sadie's holding on, gritting her teeth, closing eyes against the spray. Ivan's curled up in the Zodiac's bottom, his face taking on an unhealthy green tint. Our little sun shepherd's a fast one, Finn says in answer. He stooped down on his knees, one hand on the motor handle, another gripping a cleat. Her top speed's 120. She won't be so fast in this mess. But she'll get us to Wind Sun in about a couple hours. He points out toward a dark base of cloud rushing toward them. We should miss the worst of it, though I think we'll take that gust front head on. The Zodiac flies through the air, lands, then pitches. A breaker barrels over the little craft, flooding it in about 4 inches of water. Pumps kick in, spitting spray out behind the small boat as it barrels toward the majestic Sun Shepherd. Coming up alongside it, Beatrice takes stock of its size. At 22 feet wide and 100 feet long, she dwarfs their Zodiac. Massive waves looming like hills behind make her look surprisingly vulnerable as the larger vessel turns to shelter them from the onslaught churning out of the North Sea. 2 crewmen toss lines overboard. Mori catches one. They haul the boat in, then swing a boom over the side to fasten the craft. Finn points to a ladder. One by one, they clamber up, emerging onto a pitching deck with all the dignity of soaked cats. Beatrice times the swell, springs, shoots past the ladder, and lands gracefully on the deck amidst a rain of spray. She blows her wet hair aside, relieved to be free of the tiny Zodiac. Show off, Mori quips as he staggers up beside her, clutching his briefcase in one hand, gripping a handhold with the other. Every surface on the sleek vessel except for a narrow wooden walkway is covered in solar panels or solar film. It makes Beatrice think of a great black whale. Ivan is leaning over the railing, making foul noises. Sadie sways as she clenches a crew member's offered hand. Finn scampers down to the first well deck in the vessel's rear, motioning for them to follow. Beatrice lets a crewman, Carl, guide her companions back to the well as she assists another crew member, Franz, in attaching the Zodiac to a pair of ropes, then hoisting it using metal booms. With her help, it only takes a minute. You do ship work? Franz asks in halting English, not aware she has Omniscientia drifting close by for translation. Yes, back home, Beatrice says simply. What she doesn't say is that her homeworld, Marin, is almost entirely covered in water. Ships there are far different from those plying Earth's own increasingly dangerous seas. Some principles of seacraft, though, are universal. Franz makes a sound that could be an impressed grunt as they fasten the Zodiac to a berth on Sun Shepherd's roof. The noise is drowned out by roaring sea. He pops a panel, then motions for her to help him fold a hard shell over the boat. She works with him to pull the sections out, fighting gusts as Sun Shepherd turns her nose into the waves. The shell comes in 3 parts. Each is covered with solar film. They snap sections together, attach electrical plugs to some internal wiring, and then are drenched by spray as the bow cleaves through what must be a 15-foot wave. The wave's force momentarily hurls them into the air. Beatrice turns instinctively, grabs a cleat, then with her trailing hand snags Franz by the hood of his rain slicker. They slam back down into the deck. Franz scrambles up, blinks at her in surprise and gratitude, then gives a matter-of-fact nod. Good, he shouts. Now best get below. The roar of waves and wind suddenly drowns out his voice. Beatrice smiles at his affirmation. She nods toward the well, indicating he should go first. Franz curses something about how he should be helping her. She flicks his prideful outburst away with a glance, then watches on protectively as he struggles to reach the well across a pitching deck. She comes to her feet. In little bounds, she springs behind, riding the deck like a surfboard. Franz doesn't look back, but Beatrice can see Mori keeping eyes on her through the bridge's glass. He, Sadie, and the young woman are watching her escort Franz back to the well. The young woman, she must be Glenda Goodfuture, is staring with naked awe as the harsh elements force the large and muscled Franz to lurch and stagger, even as Beatrice rides through it all with the grace of a dancer. At last they reach the well. Franz lurches toward the door as Sun Shepherd pitches through a massive roller. Walls of foam surge on either side. He lurches through, nearly falling, still managing to hold open the door for her. She waits for the wave to pitch the stern upward, then uses its momentum to leap through, flying past him, her boots squishing on a dry cockpit floor. It's the only sound she makes. She's greeted immediately by a beaming Glinda Goodfuture. "Bravo! Excellent!" she exclaims as she claps, then hands her a towel. "I was scared for you. But you make fighting through a storm look like body art." She puts out a hand. "I'm Glinda." Now it's Beatrice's turn to be impressed. Here before her was the pint-sized climate activist who'd taken the world by storm, forcing so many to reconsider their place on Earth and what they were doing to protect it for future generations. She nods a gracious thank you for the towel, then extends her hand. "Honored to finally meet you," she says. Glinda takes her hand, pumping it with a surprisingly firm grip for one so small. Beatrice, at 5'4", looks down at 5-foot-tall Glinda. She's thin, early 20s, long sandy blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail. Her t-shirt reads the now widespread youth climate message: "Climate strike, Fridays for future." A tiny form for quite a force. "Given your outfit, I figured you must be Errol Flynn's girlfriend, but he says you're married." She gives Mori, who looks every part the drowned crow, a disapproving frown. Mori staggers forward, propelled back and forth by the shepherd pitching as it struggles through the seas, hugs Beatrice, clears his throat awkwardly. "I definitely got the better end of that bargain," he quips. "Yeah," Glinda says with an eye roll, then turns toward her father, her mouth scrunched up into a pensive frown. Ivan's finally recovered. He looks green, his expression hangdog. The bruises on his hand are turning into ugly shiners. His burned hand is wrapped up in a gauze someone must have scrounged up while Beatrice was on deck securing the Zodiac. "Valeria should have never left," Ivan says to her in Russian, omniscientia trailing behind Beatrice, and patterned with interpreter, dutifully translates. "Your home was forsaken." Glinda drops Beatrice's hand, giving it a pat as she releases it, then turns in anger toward her father. "Nonsense, I had to," Glinda shouts in English, her brows lowered in sudden fury. You left. Too selfish to do what's right. You tried to force me to be like you." Glinda's face is red at her brief but intense outburst. "I did what I must. What you wouldn't." Ivan's face flushes. Her use of English in front of everyone is like a slap in the face. "Valeria," Ivan starts, his mouth working. "To be an adult," he continues in Russian. "Is not easy," she interrupts in English. "You always say that. I did the harder thing. I took responsibility. That makes me the adult." Ivan clamps his mouth shut. His eyes cut side to side. Everyone on the bridge is silent. Mori's stupid grin is back. Outside, the waves rage higher. The wind howls. Lightning strikes a wave top about a half-mile away. "I missed you," he says lamely through the roaring thunder. "And I you, ever since you went to work for that stupid bank, ever since age 12 when I lost my father," Glinda shouts, face red. She hops on her toes, tears of rage fall from her eyes. "This," she points at the mages, at the raging storm, at the Sun Shepherd. "This is the result. Devils, terrorists, you're a fucking shape changer." She glances at Sadie, but does not relent. "A devil's fishhooks in your heart. This is my intervention, your last fucking chance to be a fucking human." On the bridge console, a red light begins to flash and an alarm sounds. Finn, who'd taken the helm as soon as he entered the bridge, picks up a hand mic, keys the tab. Attention, crew, passengers, brace, brace, brace! Large wave, inbound! Beatrice spins, flicks Omnis Scientia out the front window. Ahead, a massive blue and white wall rises, easily towering 40 feet above the sea surface. Its top rolls. She grabs hold of a handle. The others scramble to brace themselves. Glinda is caught unawares. Ivan freezes. Finn guns the engine, pushing Sun Shepherd up the wave face and toward his axe-shaped peak. Beatrice makes a decision. Hit the deck, she shouts, then jumps from her place of safety, grabbing both Glinda and Ivan. She pushes them to the floor. The wave crashes. The outer deck roils under a wall of white water. It slams into the window. For a moment, the bridge is submerged. Blue water swirls around Omnis Scientia, where it hovers just over the deck. Behind them, windows reveal a maelstrom of white. Beatrice, Ivan, and Glinda are lifted bodily, then flung in a tangle onto a nearby couch. The Sea Shepherd gathers itself beneath the wave, powerful electric motors making a spaceship sound. Then, with a rush and an explosion of spray, the vessel bursts through the wave's back, resurfacing like a submarine. Sea Shepherd bobs for a few seconds behind the wave, rights herself, then swiftly plows onward, electric drives pushing a tail of water behind. Finn turns. Everyone okay? Thumbs up, let me see them, he shouts over the roaring wind and sea. They manage to brace, all except Beatrice, Glinda, and Ivan, who are busy untangling themselves. Everyone gives the thumbs up. Good, Finn says. Now, better buckle in. This monster storm has quite the bite. Beatrice helps Glinda fasten a seatbelt to the couch, then makes sure Ivan's buckled in beside her. Whatever else she may think of Ivan, he's still Glinda's father. Despite everything, Glinda clearly still loves him. Beatrice, at last satisfied both he and Glinda are safe, begins to snap her own buckle. Not you, Finn says back to her. You've got the best sea legs I've ever seen, and Sadie told me, well, I know about your talent. You have your special sight active. It's called Omnis Scientia, and yes, it's floating above the deck near the prow. I need you to use it to help the navigation system. Up here. He pats a co-pilot seat next to him. Beatrice springs up to it. In one smooth motion, she buckles in. She scans the array of indicators and screens, depth finders, wave height measures, level of battery charge at 83%, various outside cameras mostly blurred out by rain and waves, LiDAR and radar, the red collision warning light that just blinked out. She turns and gives a little two-fingered salute to Finn. Aye, Captain, she replies, then flicks Omnis Scientia up ahead. It lifts off the prow, flits over raging wave tops. I've moved Omnis Scientia out to 300 feet in front of the vessel, she says. Good, Finn replies. Let me know if there's another large wave coming. Something about double the size of regular swells. He hesitates. Takes in the raging sea state. Or larger. Describe it to me. That. He points to the red collision warning indicator, now dim, is just a dummy light. Beatrice gives the thumbs up. The rest of you, pipe down, Finn continues. We're in for a rough ride out to Windsun. You can settle your differences when we get there. Let's make sure we do. And that concludes Helkey 27 Into the North Seas, Jagged Teeth. Thank you for joining me this evening, and I will be reading again next Wednesday night, afternoon, or evening, usually between 4 and 9. So please come back and join me here. For my next stream, we will be enjoying another Dungeons & Dragons game, this one, Battlestorm Valhalla, and that will be on Thursday night at 9:30, so tomorrow at 9:30. And actually, before then, I will likely be returning to do another little bit of map art with you. So we got a lot of streams coming. If you are interested in reading the work that I have just presented to you, Helkey 27, The North Sea's Jagged Teeth, you can find it at scribblersfantasticalworkshop.wordpress.com. And you can also find all the other Helkey episodes there in the table of contents, which is in the upper right-hand corner of the blog page just beneath the title page. If you click on it, just like I'm doing now, it will take you to the Helkey table of contents, which includes the first chapter and all the other chapters that I have presently written all the way up to chapter 32. We are presently working on chapter 33, the Battle of Sunken Crag, Bridge and Pit, which should publish either tomorrow or Friday, depending on how swiftly I write. We've just completed another 2,200 odd words today. We should probably knock out another about that many tomorrow. And so hopefully the Battle of Sunken Crag, Bridge and Pit will be complete either by tomorrow or Friday. Lately, the Battle of Sunken Crag episodes have been about 4,000 to 6,000 words long. Quite a lot of writing so far in the Battle of Sunken Crag. By itself, it could probably be a mini novel. I've written, I don't know, probably about 25,000 words so far. So it might, including the whole Overseer Tower arc, might be about 30, 35, possibly even 40,000 words. So pretty significant, pretty intense. We're going to get into reading the Battle of Sunken Crag relatively soon now. The first chapter, chapter 29, comes right after Curse Rider and a Kaiju Storm, which is the next episode that I will be reading for you all coming next Wednesday. So thank you all for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you again very